Welcome to the weird Womblands drama of TikTok. You may or may not have heard about this already, but this story has completely taken over Twitter and TikTok, with people quoting the words Womblands and you effing knew, much to the confusion of people who don't know what they're talking about. I myself was one of those confused people, so I took it upon myself to figure out what was going on so that I could present it all to you. And as it turns out, this whole story has a plot line that feels like something that should be in an episode of Grey's Anatomy, not in the real lives of people on TikTok. Before we do decode this whole thing, just to quickly say that if you're watching this video within the first few hours of it being posted, then I am currently live on Twitch, so come and join me there. It's VangelinaSkov, and there's also a link in the description. And also, of course, please subscribe and turn on all notifications. So to start, let me explain to you the players in the situation, one of which you will find out is actually a player in a whole different way too. So there's two main people in this. One is Modern Warrior, whose real name is Lance Sosi, and the other is Chelsea Hart. Both of them are TikTokers and social justice activists, and honestly, before this, social justice TikTok was something that I hadn't been exposed to, and I really wish I hadn't been, because it is just peak performative activism. Not all of it, but most of it. Anyway, Lance is a Native American man whose content focuses on the issues faced by Indigenous people. From what I can tell, a lot of his content does bring up a lot of real issues faced by these people, but he does also start all of his videos with "Hey colonizer" in order to get an emotional response from the person watching, and he also said that white people should stop having babies, which is eugenics. Chelsea, on the other hand, is a woman from Alaska who makes what I would call variety social activist TikToks. And upon first glance of her TikTok, you will see her pinned videos, in which she tells stories which probably didn't happen in the most obnoxious voice I have ever heard.
So the other day, a man told me women should treat their men like kings. What on earth makes you think you're a king? I asked him. He did not like this.
If you can't tell, I'm really not a fan of this kind of content. Besides these two though, there are several other people who are involved in this story, but we'll talk about them as they come up. For now, you just need to know about Chelsea and Lance. So our problems all begin when these two form a friendship. According to Chelsea, they had gotten close after she had lost a baby. Now remember that fact, that is going to be very important later on. And Lance did his best to comfort her and support her. This friendship later did turn romantic, but they were never officially a couple. At some point though, Lance did express his interest in polyamory to Chelsea, and that is something which she said she was not comfortable with. But anyway, after about 6 months of being vaguely romantically involved, Chelsea flew to Denver to meet him, at which time they had, in her words, unprotected. Then the next day, to the absolute horror of Chelsea, Lance posts a video on TikTok of him on a date with another woman. This causes Chelsea to share her story on TikTok and blast Lance for lying to her. And like all sad stories, be them on YouTube or TikTok, Chelsea starts out with a sigh, before explaining that Lance had broken her trust and that she did not have informed consent because she didn't know the full context of the situation. But Chelsea is not the only woman to have had this experience with Lance. As it turns out, he was seeing multiple women at the same time. One of these was a TikToker named Amanda Marie, who was not only seeing Lance at the same time that he was seeing Chelsea, but had also claimed to have an identical experience to Chelsea. So Amanda Marie also went on to make her own videos on TikTok, claiming that Lance was a liar, saying that she did not have informed consent, and saying how sick she felt when she heard Chelsea's story.
But he is a liar. And he is a manipulator.
When you boil it all down, what we have here is the classic cheating story. We have a man who was clearly in the wrong, leading women on and not telling them that he was sleeping with other women. You'd think though that that was all the story would be. A man who had cheated and the women who were hurt by it. But trust me when I tell you that this entire situation gets so much bigger, so much more dramatic, and so completely blown out of proportion for a multitude of reasons. But if we're being honest, the main reason that this story got blown out of proportion in the first place was because the person telling the story used language which completely dramatized the whole thing. Throughout Chelsea's retelling of events, she does not use the word cheating to explain what happened to her. Instead, like mentioned earlier, she said that she did not have informed consent because she didn't know that Lance was seeing other women. And she claims that if she had known, she wouldn't have given consent, or at the very least would have not given consent for it to be unprotected. Essentially, what she's doing here is making it sound like she didn't consent at all. But she did. She didn't consent to being cheated on, obviously, because that is the definition of cheating. If you agree to it, then it's no longer cheating. Her choice of words throughout this whole thing seems very calculated to make it sound far worse than it is, and her choice to bring up the word consent constantly makes it sound like Lance SA'd her. At some points, Chelsea even says she's not sure if she's going to take legal action. But come on now, she would need to be completely lacking in any kind of brain function to not realise that by saying that, she's pushing the narrative that what happened with Lance is SA, when it wasn't. And unfortunately, people are running with this narrative. People on TikTok have even been calling Lance a in order to defend Chelsea. To make matters worse, in one particular TikTok, Chelsea says that she did not consent to that, meaning that she didn't know that he was with other women, not that she didn't agree and want to with him. And then follows that up with the absolutely mind-blowing, I don't know if legally that counts as assault, and I'm not saying it is, and I wouldn't want to accuse anyone of that, but blah blah blah. Why even bring up that word? Why even say that it could be assault if you just said that you don't know if it is, and that you don't want to falsely accuse someone of that? With the very careful and calculated way that Chelsea chooses her words, topped with the very emotional way that she conveys her story, it's understandable why someone might think she's being manipulative and trying to garner sympathy for herself, all while fueling hate against Lance. But of course, she never outright says these things, and she also repeatedly tells people not to send any hate Lance's way, so that makes it okay, right? But this isn't the only thing that makes it seem like Chelsea may be trying to twist the narrative around what happened with Lance. So the most popular and most memed video to come out of this whole debacle stems from Lance's attempt to apologise to Chelsea, during which he mainly apologises for his inability to communicate effectively.
I just want to take a second to apologize to Chelsea. I'm very sorry that our friendship has come to this. I'm very sorry for not being the effective communicator that I wanted to be.
And in a completely normal and definitely level-headed way, Chelsea decides to respond to this by saying, I may be pregnant with your child and you're apologising for your communication. Followed by the highly quoted, I have an ache deep in my womb, Lance. A lot of people think she's saying Womblands, which if that were true, that is a very bizarre way to refer to your womb.
I may be pregnant with your child, and you are apologizing for your communication. I have an ache that lives deep in my womb, Lance. And sometimes I just cry from my soul about it.
But when she says this, she's referring to the baby that she lost. And it's pretty clear that she's saying she's still hurt by that experience and that she's scared that she might have to go through it again, saying that she absolutely would not have consented to not using a condom if she had have known the full extent of everything, known that he was seeing other women. This does raise a lot of questions though. Firstly, when she thought she was the only woman in Lance's life, did she realise that there was a risk of pregnancy and not care? Had they talked about that? Did they want a kid? Chances are probably not. Secondly, there's no confirmation from Chelsea that she may have actually missed a period, or if she has symptoms of pregnancy, or if she's just worried because what they did was unprotected. The third issue though is another example of Chelsea potentially twisting the narrative. According to a screenshot of DMs with Chelsea, which may or may not be real, it's possible that she didn't exactly lose the baby, because in these she says that she had an abortion. But throughout the whole saga of this, Chelsea makes it sound like she had a miscarriage without actually ever using that word, even saying that her baby was ripped from her. But having an abortion is a completely different story. That's not to say though that it can't be traumatic or upsetting. It definitely can be, and nobody is trying to take that away from her, whatever the situation is. But is she purposefully leading people to believe that it was a miscarriage because she feels like it might gain her more sympathy? Well, actually, it turns out Amanda Marie may think that that is the case. If you've already forgotten, this is the woman we mentioned earlier who also had the same experience as Chelsea. But although she did have that same experience and was originally defending Chelsea Amanda Marie later changed her tune. She said that even though she had the same experience as Chelsea, she, unlike Chelsea, wasn't going around saying that she needed to go to the hospital or thinking about, in Amanda's words, unaliving herself, or saying that she needed to take legal action.
And you don't see me posting on Instagram that I need to go to the hospital, that I'm potentially pregnant with this man's baby, that I'm having thoughts about unaliving myself. All of this is for attention. Whether those things are true, she is posting about them to get your support, to get your sympathy, and to get followers. This is happening because she wants this attention. As soon as she found out that I could verify her experience with Lance, she has been calling me nonstop, yelling at me, pressuring me, telling me what to say, telling me what to do, telling me what to post, telling me what not to post, trying to control me and how I tell the truth about my experience with Lance. She is doing that intentionally.
Her thoughts now are that Chelsea is just doing this for sympathy, attention, and followers. That she's dramatizing all of this just for clout and using what she calls white woman tears to gain this, all while fueling racism and anti-native rhetoric towards Lance. But on top of all of that, Amanda Marie also claims that Chelsea was coaching her through her videos about Lance, telling her what to say, what not to say, pressuring her and yelling at her. And apparently this isn't just isolated to Amanda. She also claims that she was doing this to other women, including a TikToker called Taversia who was apparently told by Chelsea to call her a pregnant woman in her videos. But it isn't just the women who Chelsea tried to recruit as allies who were hurt by her behaviour. 2 other women have come out to say that they were viciously harassed by Chelsea's followers and supporters. One of these is a TikToker, a Native American woman who goes by the username WitchyTwitchyTV. And she says that because she was shown on Lance's page, she received a ton of harassment from Chelsea's followers, a lot of which included racist and anti-native remarks. Thankfully though, Chelsea did actually address this in a TikTok video, saying that this woman had done nothing wrong and asking her followers to stop harassing her. Though it seems like things didn't really get that much better for her. And she had some more TikToks afterwards talking about it and even crying. And yet another woman who was hurt by all of this is somebody called Smalls. She said that Lance asked her to dinner and that because of that she felt like he was flirting with her. However, after she heard what happened to Chelsea and Amanda, she realized that if she had have gone to dinner with him, she could have been in the same position that they were.
It was October 22nd, 2021 that I told Lance that I would love to learn his perspective as an Indigenous person. To which he responded that a genuine conversation would be nice, and then he told me that he lived in Colorado. And that was it for a couple of days until October 29th. After hashing out our differences, it was October 29th that I actually made my donation to the American Indian College Fund, and in return, Lance shouted out my GoFundMe. And the next piece of the conversation was the infamous "you're quite the looker" screenshot. As a 25-year-old woman, when I had somebody who I had asked to have a conversation with in person escalate that to taking me to dinner, I took that as flirtatious advances.
But many of Chelsea's followers were very quick to harass her and call her a liar, because she's conservative, so a lot of them basically branded her as a white supremacist and neo-Nazi, so they just feel like she's not worthy of support. In the case of these 2 women, it seems like a lot of Chelsea's supporters will vehemently fight for believing all women, as long as those women are white liberals. This entire situation is a huge mess that did not need to be a mess. Yes, what Lance did was clearly wrong. He led women on and let them believe that he wasn't seeing anyone else when he was. But that does not justify a lot of the ways that Chelsea responded. The way she may have dramatized things for attention, and the way she hurt other people to get that attention. Do let me know though in the comments what you think about all of this. And if you don't want to leave me a comment about that, then leave me a comment and let me know, is there any show that you love to hate watch? Because comments help my engagement. Before I go as well, just going to say, don't forget, if you're watching this within the first few hours of it going live, I am streaming on Twitch right now, so come and join me. I would really appreciate it. And if you've missed me live, then just check out my Twitch anyway. I'll be live again very soon, so you can always leave me a follow. And on that topic, please do subscribe to this channel, turn on all notifications, and you can also follow me on social media. Like, comment, share, and do all the things that I'm supposed to ask you to do at the end of a video, and have a wonderful day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!